The bass line thumps through the gym speakers, wraps of tape snap tight around knuckles, and a coach's voice cuts to the noise. Go off on him and hang up on him. That's the soundtrack to the final stretch of Terence Bud Crawford's training camp as he zeroes in on the most daring challenge of his remarkable career. A jump to super middleweight to face the undisputed champion, Canelo Alvarez. The matchup is the stuff of fight fan debates. A pound-for-pound technician with ice-cold composure stepping up to face a bigger, stronger superstar with granite toughness and a trophy cabinet that speaks for itself. It's a fight years in the making, and the conversation around it is rich with nuance. Some see sizing up as a bridge too far. Others believe that when the skills are this rare, size alone won't save anyone. Along the way, respected voices have weighed in: fighters, trainers, commentators, men who've lived inside championship moments and learned to spot the tells that separate the great from the extraordinary. Danny Jacobs, who knows both the grind and the spotlight better than most, didn't hesitate to frame this clash in a way that feels honest and exciting. In his view, this is a real 50-50 fight. If he had to pick a side, he leans Crawford, but he's quick to underline that Canelo is still the rightful favorite going in. He's a dog. He's a beast, Jacobs said of Crawford, pointing to a competitor who fights like he's got something to prove every time out. You don't need to sell anyone on Canelo's pedigree, he added. The resume and the success speak for themselves. But when a fighter with Crawford's ring IQ and finishing instinct shows up with intent, things get interesting. And when the stakes are this high, one clean moment can swing the entire night. Roy Jones Jr., a master of possibilities when the bell rings. Put in tactical terms that grab your attention. He likes the fight. He likes the tension in it. But he framed the path to victory in a way that hints at how razor-thin the margins might be. In Roy's eyes, Canelo Alvarez has one clear way to win, while Terence Crawford has three. He wouldn't label Crawford the favorite outright, because the one path Canelo has is powerful enough to nullify everything if he executes it. If he does, it's a different night. If he doesn't, Roy says Crawford takes over. Decode that, and you hear a reminder of what we've seen throughout both careers. Canelo is terrifying when he can walk you down, break your rhythm, and own the geography of the ring. But Crawford is a master of adjustments. He doesn't need everything to go his way to figure out how to make his way. Inside Crawford's camp, this final phase is one goal: sharpen, refine, and commit to a plan. The sparring is specific. Partners with the kind of high guard, educated pressure, and tuck-chin mechanics that echo Canelo's signature style. Everything is about timing and anticipation. The counters off the feint. The hand fighting inside. The half-step back that turns a hook into an opening. Crawford's team has him switching between stances not to dazzle for its own sake, but to manipulate angles, close doors, and make Canelo reset more often than he wants to. They're drilling defensive reactions until they're quiet and automatic. Rolls under the left hook, a step around the lead foot, a shoulder turn that steals power off a right hand. The value of all that work only shows up on fight night, but you can hear the intent in cues from the corner. Make him miss in front of you, touch him when he's not set, and make him pay when he overcommits. Beyond the technical detail, the conditioning work has a purpose you can feel. Crawford doesn't want to just survive at 168 pounds. He wants to carry speed and mean intent into every round. That means grueling cardio blocks, explosive strength cycles to keep his hips firing, and long endurance circuits that simulate late-round pressure. Recovery is treated like part of the workout. Ice baths, band work, mobility, and a dialed-in nutrition plan designed to add muscle without dragging down his feet. The aim is not to show up bulky. It's to show up dangerous, quick out of the stance, ready to burst into combinations and get back out safe. If he can do that consistently, the size narrative gets complicated in a hurry. And in between rounds of minutes and miles, you still hear that voice. Go off on him and hang up on him. Translation: when it's time to go, go. Then cut him off from his comfort. Make him pick the wrong answer, and don't let him breathe. Featherweight standout Stephen Fulton echoed what a lot of fighters admire most about Crawford. He's willing to risk something to find out who he really is under the brightest lights. Fulton has leaned Crawford in this fight from the start, and made it clear it's not a slight to Canelo Alvarez. Canelo is a great fighter. That's the whole point. You don't learn much about yourself by choosing easy opponents. It takes real heart to move up Test yourself against a bigger man and own the consequences, win or lose. If Crawford uses his boxing effectively, Fulton believes the night tilts toward him. And if he wins, that's not just a great win. It's the kind of win that ages remarkably well and elevates a legacy forever. On the other end of the ring walk, not everyone is sold on the sizzle around this event. Ade Oladipo looked at the build-up and felt like something's missing. Considering what's at stake, the undisputed super middleweight title and a showdown the boxing world will debate for years, you'd expect a little more edge, a little more theater. With Canelo now speaking comfortably in English, Ade wondered why we didn't get a Max Kellerman-style face-off of the ages. Maybe that's nostalgia talking, but it's true that neither Canelo nor Crawford has that appetite for trash talk. Both are assassins who prefer to let the fight do the storytelling. That's admirable to purists, but in an era where headlines often depend on pre-fight drama, the promo can feel flat. Still, the flip side is this. When both guys are quiet, it can mean they're locked in. When men who don't bluff say, "We'll see on the night," they tend to mean it. Andy Lee, a fighter's fighter and a student of what greatness looks like when it's earned, refuses to pick a winner, and you can hear the respect behind that stance. He's excited for what he believes will be a superb fight. He thinks about what Crawford did against Sean Porter and Jose Benavidez, and what Canelo did in that violent chess trilogy with Gennady Golovkin, and he sees collisions of will and talent that made classic nights. He expects Crawford will have to plant his feet more often than usual if he wants Canelo's respect. Wander too much and you might look slick, but you won't win the argument. Stand your ground at the right moments, and you can make a believer out of a bigger man. That push and pull is what makes fights like this feel big. Two masters trying to impose their version of the truth. Trainer Ronnie Shield went further. He picked Bud Crawford to win. His reasoning is crisp. He sees a fighter who has grown into himself, who is competing for the right reasons, and who's showing sharpness in the little things during camp. Shields also noted what a lot of people brought up after Canelo's most recent outing against William Skull. Hint of slowing down at times, the kind you only notice if you've been watching closely for years. He's not talking about a massive drop-off, but in fights like this, half steps matter. Shields thinks Crawford's speed, not raw power, is what will give Canelo problems. When the counters arrive half a beat faster than expected, opportunities shrink. And if Crawford pulls this off, Shields believes you're looking at one of the top 10 wins in boxing history, the kind of victory that forces everyone to reevaluate what's possible between the ropes. Robert Garcia played it tight, acknowledging how hard this fight is to call. Canelo is big and strong, no question about that. But in recent performances, Garcia has seen a version of Canelo that doesn't always hunt for the knockout. The work can be more measured, flat-footed at times, one heavy shot at a time, that can win rounds and still break people down, but it also leaves space. Garcia thinks Canelo might still edge it, but he wouldn't be surprised at all if Crawford nicked a decision. Why? Footwork. Quick, clean combinations. Hit, slide, hit again. When you have that kind of speed and patience, you can frustrate a pressure fighter just enough to tilt the cards in your favor. Bernard Hopkins placed the conversation where it ultimately belongs. Legacy. Crawford has a real chance, he said, because of his heart, talent, and the way he strategizes. But Canelo is no pushover. Never has been. This, Hopkins said, is what boxing is supposed to be. The best fighting the best. Crawford's willingness to dare to be great by marching into the domain of a larger champion is how a career becomes a story future generations will repeat. Millions will be watching to see how it plays out, and Hopkins will be among them. Statements like that carry weight, because they come from a man who knows what it's like to redefine a ceiling. David Benavidez, who sits right at the heart of the super middleweight conversation, keeps it simple. Crawford has a real chance. If anyone can figure out Canelo, Bud can. His ring IQ and experience travel well. But he also emphasizes the reality of the leap. This isn't a small step up. Crawford has been a dominant welterweight, jumping multiple divisions. Even for someone as special as Bud, introduces unknowns. How does the body respond to pace? And the punches at 168. How does that snap feel in the later rounds? Those are fair questions with no answers until fight night. Jose Benavidez Sr. sees it even more starkly. Size matters here. In his view, the gap is too big to bridge. No matter how carefully Crawford adds weight, Canelo will still be the naturally larger man. He doesn't expect Crawford to slug it out in the pocket. That's giving Canelo exactly what he wants. Instead, he sees Canelo controlling enough of the exchanges and the geography to win on points. Benavidez Sr. leaves space for the chaos of the sport. Anything can happen. Big upsets shock the world. But his prediction is that Canelo's size and craft tilt the night. Teddy Atlas found a different lens for the matchup, one with echoes of history. It reminds him of Manny Pacquiao stepping up to face Oscar de la Hoya. Not the same fighters, not the same exact dynamics, but the sense that a special talent can make a bigger man look slow and old if the timing is right. Atlas said he's been consistent with his stance. After Canelo's last fight, he still likes Crawford just as much. A slow night is one thing. The deeper question is whether the smaller man can touch, turn, and tax the bigger man enough to rob him of comfort. If the answer is yes, then the night takes on familiar shape. One where skill and speed make strength feel like a shadow. Johnny Nelson called how he felt it. A great fight, a brave fight for Crawford, but one where Canelo might just be too strong and have a bit too much. He respects Bud's ambition and notes the possibility that Crawford spotted something in Canelo's recent performance against William Skull that made him say, "Now's the time." Plenty of people saw that fight and wondered if Canelo is no longer that near-invincible 97% version of himself. Maybe he's closer to 80%, Nelson mused. If that's true, then guys in the top 20%, fighters like Crawford, look at the board and see an opening. Still, Nelson leans toward Canelo's strength carrying the day. Errol Spence Jr., the man Crawford beat to become undisputed at welterweight, refuses to play gatekeeper. If Crawford wants to chase greatness at the highest level, let him. He supports the move, would back Crawford in the fight, and admits candidly that nobody can know for sure how it plays out. If anyone can pull it off, Spence says, it's Bud. He points out that Canelo himself climbed to 175 to challenge bigger men, like Sergey Kovalev. The idea is simple. If one champion can defy gravity, why can't another try? Shane Mosley offers both admiration and caution. He rates Terence Crawford very highly on any pound-for-pound list and loves the way he fights. But he's not convinced 168 is the right neighborhood for him. If it were up to Mosley, he'd rather see Crawford settle in at 154 and look at names like the Charlo brothers. That said, Mosley respects a mentality. Daring to be great is how legends get made, and not many are willing to even attempt it. He just feels that with Canelo's skill and power, this might be asking a lot all at once.